Hello, Vudani here, and today I have a very unique necro spec. I don't believe I have seen anyone running a similar spec.
Eat my dust.
I'm sure some people have tried it, but I mean, as you probably saw there, I had my daggers out. Yes, that's right. I am playing a necro with daggers, so yes, this is a melee necro. However, I do have the staff as well, and that is for situations where maybe I just don't want to quite go in there. Right now you see this elementalist engage me, so I go right in and drop my Will of Darkness, which will give blindness, and right there you saw I popped in and out of Death Shroud, and if you notice my actions, you'll see that I continuously do that. Well, that is the beauty of this build. Entering Death Shroud does three things. First off, it removes one condition. Second, it's going to apply an AoE weakness and bleed. And third, it is going to give me fury. And what that does is it allows me to do those things every 5 seconds. And there is no cooldown on the use of Death Shroud, so you can pop in and pop out instantly. You can do it anytime. It does interrupt spells you're casting, so you kind of have to watch that. But you're gonna basically be right in the middle of battle, popping in and out of Death Shroud. I mean, obviously you have Death Shroud if you'd like to use it. It recharges really fast. And right there you saw some nice crits, and those are very common with the daggers. They did get a buff when the game released. However, the biggest problem people have with necro builds and daggers is generally it's difficult to survive. And right there you saw I started off with my immobilize, but he did get me stunned, so I popped my spectral armor and I'm just siphoning life. And here I actually use Death Shroud to mitigate the majority of 100 blades. I pop right out. I want to keep my life force high because I do want to use it if I have to. And right there I pop my Will of Darkness, blinding him and anyone inside of it. And I'm just trying to get as much defense as I can. And Warrior is a very tough 1v1 for any class, and as you see, I did handle that fairly well. It wasn't, he had a pretty decent spec, it looked like. He had the idea. He hit me with the burst, but I was able to mitigate most of it. And, I mean, you can tell that this spec is fairly durable, and that comes mostly from Soldier's Amulet. I'm really starting to grow a love to the Soldier's Amulet. Obviously, the lack of precision is not that great, but you know, you have to sacrifice things with the amount of burst people are doing. And I do have the Fury at all times, which really helps with that. So, I mean, generally you're going to have about a 40% crit rate with this build, and right now I'm on this Mesmer, and you can see that the sustained damage is no joke. It's very high sustained damage. And gonna switch to that Thief, but I do get Moed. Gonna try to get out of here. Moa, if you get Moa'd, you're doing something right. That's one thing to take from that. Right now I'm gonna drop my wells. Was gonna revive him, but he did go down. So at this point I'm trying to survive as long as I can. Go into Death Shroud right before death, and I try to pop my life siphon, but I do get knocked back, and at this point there are 5 people around me. I am very much dead. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to happen. I did manage to survive for quite some time with about 5 people beating on me, and I even managed to kill a couple people behind enemy lines. Got a good 1v1. That was a pretty good life. And here I'm gonna just spawn right back. We have a decent point lead, but it can be gone very quickly on this map. But we are controlling ruins at the moment. That's good. Now we just lost the ruins, but we did reclaim beach, so I'm going to see what's up here. And obviously no action here. Let's move on over here. And right now I have my staff out, and the reason I do like the staff for Necromancer is it has a little bit of everything. Not only that, but it does have piercing attacks, so it can be used from range for very effective damage. If you maintain that fury, you can basically sit back, throw down your marks, and just blast away. And not only that, but you are running a trait that will give your Life Blast a piercing and vulnerability, and that is your main attack in Death Shroud. So you have the staff, Death Shroud, and Lich Form for ranged damage. So your range damage is no joke. I mean, the staff has some problems with projectile detection, I suppose you would call it. The staff seems to miss a lot, but you're going to want to try to rotate your Death Shroud into a Lich, into another Death Shroud if you are doing heavy range damage, which is very, very potent as a Necromancer. Lich Form is very good. I didn't actually use it this round, but as you can tell, I was in melee almost the entire time because, I mean, I'm trying to basically brawl with this build. It's very fun to be in melee, especially as a Necromancer. Right there you see I did a decent amount of damage. Obviously we overwhelmed that guy. Not too much of a challenge, so I'm gonna try to go elsewhere. Obviously we don't need me there, but gonna cut this guy off. Mesmer, not gonna be able to get a 1v1, but I do want to cut him off because right now there's only one person at dock defending. I try not to rely on people in 1v1s and throw down all my marks, get some good damage, switch right into daggers, and get some more damage. Obviously, good crits in there, and he does go down fairly easily. The main auto attack with the dagger is incredibly useful, and right there with that thief, I didn't want to risk anything, so I just went into Death Shroud. If he had focused me, I wanted to be able to mitigate that damage. Because you do have to remember that even though you are durable, you want to use Death Shroud if you can early. Obviously, if you can't, then, I mean, you can't. It is what it is. But if you can pop Death Shroud early and come out of Death Shroud with high health, you'll be able to regenerate enough life force to Death Shroud again. And right now you can see I'm not losing much health. That comes from the Soldier's Amulet, as well as the high vitality of the Necromancer, as well as a couple life siphons and defensive cooldowns. I mean, the mixture is what really makes this build. It's not a bursty build, but it does do good damage. It's built almost to play like a guardian, you could say. It's about outlasting opponents and just hanging on until they die. Definitely does have a bit more burst potential with the Lich Form, but I mean, the idea of this build is survival with sustained damage, and right now we're pretty much controlling dock with 3 people, not many people attacking that. Obviously we're in a bad spot here. We do have a heavy point lead, but the enemy team does have 2 points. I see one person just went down at beach, so I'm going to pop my Locust Swarm and gonna try to hit them with my marks right here. You can see some nice crits from the number 4 mark skill. That's also going to siphon conditions from allies, but the main use of the marks is for damage in this case. And right when I went into Death Shroud, I hit my Life Siphon, which is an AoE siphon. If you do that at high life force, you're gonna get some very high numbers with this build. And right now you can see I dropped down my well and I'm getting focused by that warrior, but not gonna take me out. However, I do have a lot of conditions. I'm trying to get away, but not able to do that. Right now I'm just trying to hang on until I get a rally, hopefully, and warrior goes down. However, I apparently still have a crap load of conditions, so I go right into Death Shroud quickly, and looks like everyone's down here. I'm just gonna hit them with these. Don't really want to bother with the whole stomping, but that Mesmer did get a very clutch illusory rogue, I suppose. He managed to do a 5k hit. I do pop right back up. However, I'm still in trouble, so I throw down the Spectral Wall and try to get that Well of Darkness, but I did go down, unfortunately. The Spectral Wall is actually a pretty good skill. It's very useful for charging into battle if you have multiple people, but it is a good defensive cooldown in general. This build runs a trait that will increase the duration of spectral skills, so what you can do with that Spectral Wall is put it down and try to stay in the general area, and then you can get multiple buffs of protection from it. But, I mean, you can pretty much see what this build is all about. It's about getting in people's faces and taking them out. I mean, very survivable for a Necromancer build. There are definitely a lot of healing options for a Necro, but It's difficult to get a Necro spec that really has survivability and damage and utility. In this build does bring that to the table. As always, I hope this video is helpful. If you have comments on what kind of Necromancer video I should put out next, feel free to leave those in the comments, and I'll take that into consideration for next week's Necromancer video. And thanks for watching.